Here is a presentation about SAP projects. It is created by Amy Law based on her experience on SAP project management. We will give an introduction about Amy Law, ASAP methodology, and her experience on SAP projects. We will go over her SAP projects, including contract management system and commercial approval for the procurement transformation program. And we will go over her SAP projects in the finance program relating to accounting close process, BW reports, payroll workflow, invoice tool upgrade, automate financial statements using BPC, and intercompany billing. Hey, this is Amy Law, your presenter. I have been working in IT for over 20 years in pipelines, energy regulator, oil and gas, utilities, transportations, and telecommunications. I have managed projects for over 15 years in IT applications and infrastructure, system and data migration, cybersecurity, ECM, SAP, process improvement, and office facilities. In terms of education, I completed bachelor and master in computer science from the University of Calgary. I received my PMP in 2006. I also completed certifications in project management, change management, ISO 27001, Information Security Management System, and ITIL. ASAP methodology stands for the Accelerated SAP. It has 6 phases, including project preparation, blueprint, realization, final preparation, go-live support, and operate. It is a standard SAP project preparation and systems implementation method, developed and updated by consultants that are involved in implementing SAP software products. It targets to help design SAP implementation in the most efficient manner possible, with an objective to effectively optimize time, people, quality, and other resources. The project preparation phase provides an initial planning. We prepare project governance, project plan, and project schedule at this stage. The blueprint phase is to achieve a common understanding of how the company intends to run SAP to support their business. It focuses on the setup of environment and validation workshop with business users to confirm scope and determine delta requirements. The realization phase is to implement all the delta requirements. The team configures, develops, tests, and documents the solution in a series of time-boxed iterations. The final preparation phase is to complete the cutover activities to finalize the readiness to go live. The cutover activities include technical and load testing, user training, and deployment rehearsal activities. This phase aims to resolve all remaining critical issues. The go-live support phase is to move from a project-oriented pre-production environment to a live production operation. This phase aims to help business users to transition into the new environment. The operate phase is to fine-tune the application lifecycle standards, processes, and procedures established during the project. This phase aims to align them with operation needs. The contract management system project adhere to ASAP methodology. It aims to implement a centralized contract repository for post-award contracts. It resolved issues where departments used their own way to track contracts without standard process or tool, impacting the timely contract renewal and vendor selection. The project aimed to leverage SAP add-on tool, Contract Lifecycle Management, CLM. This SAP add-on tool has powerful out-of-the-box functionalities, from managing contracts to centralized vendor search and automated email reminders for contract renewal. Here is what I did. I managed project from initiation to closing using ASAP methodology. I engaged an off-site vendor from finalizing SOW to managing deliverables. I facilitate semi-weekly meeting with off-site resources using Conference Bridge and web meeting to ensure the blueprinting and configuration are completed as per plan. I coordinated testing and training with users across the world. As a result, we successfully implemented SAP CLM, migrated over 2,000 legacy contracts from hidden areas including Excel, ECM Lifelink, and SAP ECC to SAP CLM. Centralized contract management and eased contract renewal with automated reminders and user-friendly interfaces. The commercial approval project aims to enhance SAP material management to authorize purchase orders based on a new standard process in the procurement transformation program. It leveraged the automated reminders and escalation using the SAP system to look up the organizational hierarchy and associated contacts. It resolved issues where the organization was lack of a standard process and centralized purchase order approval, affecting the negotiation power of the organization. When individual departments had their own way to select vendors and make purchases, the organization could have duplication of effort to select the best vendors, affecting the bottom line. With the centralized purchase order approval, the organization has more negotiation power, which means lower cost, central point of contacts, and standardized process. This allows for more comprehensive control and optimization of inventory. This also reduces the total number of staff and training necessary, leading to a cost saving. Here is what I did. I managed the internal SAP team to enhance the SAP material management based on the new procurement process to centralize purchase order approval. Since this change affected the entire company, I first coordinated user acceptance testing, UAT, for Calgary, Alberta, and China offices. Then I coordinated training for users across the world. And I managed cutover, which was 20 hours of technical deployment and data migration, with validation in Calgary, Alberta, and China. As a result, we successfully implemented SAP material management changes, enabling commercial approvals through reminders and escalation. We help the procurement transformation program to meet the new business requirements, support the new process, maximize efficiency of the transformed organization, and increase the negotiation power of the organization, leading to a cost saving. The contract management project and commercial approval project are part of the procurement transformation program. Here is the highlight of the program lessons learned. A number of positive findings were identified. They are meant to be repeated in the future projects. We had a strong support from senior management. For example, the project sponsor visited project team during a 20-hour weekend cutover with donuts and coffee. The strong senior management support is very important, especially for the organizational transformation program. We ensure all security profiles defined with HR and security. We identify who needs roles added, removed, or updated for each incremental rollout. We had a strong OCM plan, and we scheduled training with realistic timeline. We visited users and provided on-site training across North America and China. We were grateful that the project budget enabled the hiring of a trainer and covered travel expenses. We provided certification after the training. Only the users who were trained could be granted access to the new tool. We also created an ongoing training plan for future new hire. We enabled on-site development. The project budgeted developers from USA to come to Calgary every 2 weeks. This enabled team building and knowledge transfer between vendor and client operational teams. Here is a number of negative findings. So this situation should be minimized and or avoided in the future projects. We should have engaged business unit to be affected early. Since the procurement transformation program affected the entire company, not every business unit was able to participate in the process review within a 2-week cycle. A better way to improve the situation is to allow sufficient time on the requirements gathering and process validation through running several requirements workshops across 4-week cycle with different day time to ensure all business units can participate. We should have document process exceptions and criteria with sponsorship sign-off. Some of the process exceptions were not identified, and so they were not programmed into the SAP system. Some of the exceptions were not approved on a timely fashion, and so they didn't make it to the cutoff. Therefore, we had to manually handle some of these exceptions until we were able to update the SAP system for a scheduled patch. A better way to improve this situation is to allow sufficient time to identify all exceptions and allot enough time for sponsorship sign-off. We should have identified more real-life test cases for user acceptance testing. We should have worked with users from different areas to broader representation and clearly articulate the purpose of testing and expectation. We should have requested testers to build their own test cases based on the real usage. We should have established negative test cases to break the system so that the application can gracefully handle invalid input and unexpected user behavior. Finally, we should have incorporated the test cases as demo and training materials. Last but not least, we should have a clear understanding on the relationship between resources. In some cases, we could end up with a conflict of interest. 2 resources from the vendors were brothers. One of the brothers was capable, whereas the other brother was not. Yet the vendor has made it clear that both brothers must be hired as a team. A better way to improve this situation is to select vendor who can offer multiple resources for client selection. This can be a challenge because the vendor usually provides resources without letting the client to pick the specific resources. I have managed several SAP finance projects. The Accounting Close Cycle project is a part of the SAP Finance program. This project aimed to streamline accounting close cycle. The issues include the lack of visibility on who is doing what and when during the month-end, quarter-end, and annual accounting close. In some cases, the SAP and BIBW report have to be manually manipulated to present the correct finance information. Here is what I did. I engaged several internal teams for requirements gathering and analysis on the current state. I asked the key stakeholders from general accounting, treasury, budgeting, regulatory, payroll, and so forth to describe their activities for the accounting close cycle. And then I document the activities using Microsoft Excel. Iteratively, I repeated the requirements gathering and analysis, ending up with a spreadsheet to clearly articulate all all activities, including their sequencing, dependency, necessary resources, date, and time. I then transfer the information to Microsoft Project Plan to build a critical path, load balance the resources, and adjust the sequence so that we can streamline the accounting close cycle. I was able to map all activities, resources, date, and time to each day in a calendar covering from the 10 days before and after the closing. So we know exactly what and who should do on the day 5. So that is D minus 5. On day 4, that is D minus 4, and all the way to the day of close, D minus 0. And then day after close, D plus 1. And all the way to 4 days after close, D plus 4. To align with the streamlined process, I updated the SAP system and BIBW report with the internal SAP team so that the finance reporting data was accurate without manual manipulation. As a result, the managers could use the calendar to track progress and we assign activities and all resources. The biggest benefit realized in this project include the increased visibility, understanding, and communications across multiple teams. This was a great collaboration with everyone involved. The accounting close process started and finished on time, along with JV submissions, allowing users to focus on other important priorities without staying over time. The finance report become more reliable and accurate without manual intervention. The payroll compensation workflow project is another project in the finance program. It aimed to automate payroll compensation with a target to reduce monthly manual intervention and enable email reminders and escalation through SAP. The project aimed to resolve issues, including manual steps were missing from time to time, affecting union employees to receive timely wage increase, the lack of visibility of the workflow status, and the inability to provide email reminder and escalation. Here is what I did. I engaged the HR, payroll, and various managers for requirements gathering. I asked them to describe their activities and challenges in the payroll compensation process. Then I document the steps using Microsoft Visio. Iteratively, I repeated the requirements gathering and validation, ending up with a swim lane diagram to clearly articulate all steps and associated managers, HR, and payroll to streamline the process. I adjust the sequence of steps to enable the automated payroll compensation. To align with the automated process, I updated the SAP system with the internal SAP team so that the automated workflow could reduce the monthly manual intervention to less than 1 hour per month. As a result, the managers could review the payroll compensation for their staff using the automated workflow and email reminder. They could track approval progress. The biggest benefit realized in this project include the increased visibility of the payroll compensation status. This was great for manager and VPs who can make the review and approval on a timely basis and ensure no steps would be missing. The ReadSoft upgrade is another project in the finance program. This project aimed to patch SAP add-on tool, ReadSoft, and implement the ReadSoft latest out-of-the-box features such as the built-in workflow for check request and vendor search. The project was mandatory because the ReadSoft functionalities were no longer working due to the lack of patching. The ReadSoft tool was 7 years behind in the client environment with production and maintenance issues. For example, the system crashed when we scanned a large invoice. The name of a new supplier was not saved properly. Text and numbers were not picked up correctly, resulting to OCR, optical character recognition issues. It will be an opportunity cost if we do not go forward, as the finance team couldn't use the new features available in the latest version. Here is what I did. I engaged the sponsor and champion to identify and evaluate several options to address the issues. We considered to upgrade an existing SAP add-on tool, ReadSoft, or switch to a new tool, or do nothing. Through a procurement evaluation, we decided to upgrade ReadSoft, which includes a replacement of the legacy hardware, like a refresh to the old server, and upgrade to a more powerful RAM. I coordinate with desktop support team to replace legacy hardware and engaged off-site vendor to upgrade ReadSoft to the latest version. As a result, we were able to fix the issues. We enable OCR to pick up text and numbers, fix the new supplier name issues, and ensure the invoice to pay workflow works correctly, regardless of the invoice size. Working closely with the project champion, we created online materials and conduct in-classroom training. The biggest benefit realized in this project was the ability to enable new features using a tool that the user were familiar with, reducing OCM challenges and leading to a higher customer satisfaction. The Automate Budget and Forecast Financial Statements is another project in the finance program. At that time, the monthly and annual financial statements, such as income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow, were prepared using Excel workbook. This is outside of the systems of record SAP, and so the report were vulnerable to human errors, security concerns, lack of version control, lack of visibility on data source, lack of alignment with SAP, and lack of efficiency. The project objective was to create the financial statements directly from the system of record, SAP. So I engaged an off-site vendor to work with the internal SAP team to create the financial statements using the SAP Business Planning and Consolidation BPC application. The BPC application delivers planning, budgeting, forecasting, and financial consolidation capabilities, so we could easily adjust plans and forecast, speed up budget and closing cycle, and ensure compliancy with financial reporting standard. The result was satisfactory. We successfully replaced the Excel workbook with SAP BPC application. The accounting analysts were able to create the financial statements directly from the system of record, enabling security and version control, visibility on data source, and improved efficiencies. The intercompany billing and reporting is another project in the finance program. This project aimed to change the company code for business development work. This project was mandatory because the business development costs were charged to a wrong company code. If we did not fix the issue, the cost would be charged incorrectly to ratepayers. Or we have to fix the issue manually by charging it back to the correct company code, leading to manual effort, potential human errors, and other calculation issues. Somehow, the manual manipulation aggregate transactions. As such, the detailed line items were lost, affecting report analysis and traceability. So I engaged the accounting analyst to gather the business requirements and manage the internal SAP team to implement the intercompany billing in SAP ECC. As a result, the SAP was able to handle the intercompany billing calculation automatically and generate correct FI reports. The accounting analysts were able to avoid the manual effort and human errors and increase report analysis capabilities. We received a high customer satisfaction from this project because we help the customers to avoid the high effort, low value work, allowing them to focus on other business priorities. Here is a highlight of the finance program lessons learned. A number of positive findings were identified. They are meant to be repeated in the future projects. We provided business users access to sandbox environment to test before UAT in the test environment. The turnaround time to move SAP system changes to the test environment is much longer due to the IT process validation and approval. The changes can be made to sandbox right away, keeping the user's interest. We engage business subject matter expert SMEs to gather project requirements. For example, business SMEs can easily provide report requirements like user interface elements, including and not limited to drop-down list, checkboxes, and radio buttons that allow users to select values that filter report data. At the same time, business SMEs can easily provide formulas for report output, including data extract, calculation, sorting, and even formatting. We leveraged evaluation matrix to analyze implementation options, leading to a recommendation with the highest score. The evaluation matrix serves as a reference when questions arise about priorities, resourcing, equipment, schedule, and funding. Swim lane diagram provides the visibility of who is doing what and when in a process. It is a type of flow chart. Using the metaphor of lanes in a pool, a swim lane diagram provides clarity and accountability by placing process steps within the horizontal or vertical swim lanes of a particular employee's, department, and even SAP system. Here is a number of negative findings, and so these conditions should be minimized and or avoided in the project in the future. Hard-coded values should be avoided because SAP system functionality could be impacted as a result of the business process change. The easier to change the value, the more adaptive the SAP system is. Therefore, we should use parameter values. Always update SAP system with the latest version for the ease of operation and maintenance. When a system was not patched for 7 years, some of the key functionalities were no longer working. Due to the urgent circumstances, the project schedule had to be condensed, affecting quality and limited options. So we should always keep system patches up to date. Last but not least, make configuration document as a deliverable and condition for payment to vendor. Ideally, we provide a configuration document template to a vendor and have the vendor fill in the blank, including the descriptions, how-to steps, and screenshots. Thank you very much for your time. Please contact me for additional project management templates and samples. Here's my contact information.